Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harris. Thank you for swinging back by. Today, I have a good friend of mine, Justin Colby. Justin, thank you for being here.
My brother, thanks for having me.
So, Justin, in case someone out there doesn't know who you are, let's just give them a little introduction to yourself.
Yeah, Justin Colby, founder of the Science Flipping podcast, actually. And so my main focus is going to be helping others figure out the investing space, specifically the single-family realm, nationally. And so that is what I've done. I've done it 15 years. I've done over 2,300 transactions in those 15 years and counting. It's a fun world.
Do you still count those?
No. That's why I say in counting, because actually I could be above 2,400 at this point. I actually don't know.
Kind of like another 12 months will go by. We'll just, what was it? Another 100, 200?
I call it bubble math, right? Like we're about to fund a 21-door package. I'm like, I don't know. It's somewhere.
It is what it is.
That's it.
So the first segment every week is the bottom line up front.
Okay.
Attention Deficit Society. Someone's listening right now. They're like, I can't wait to hear Colby. 5 minutes from now, they get a phone call. They never come back.
That's it.
It just happens. So I want you to take up to 2 minutes, tell the audience what they should be doing, what they should be avoiding, kind of what you see in the market. Just, I don't know, the clip notes of what we'll talk about for the next 30 minutes. Good to go?
Good to go. Let's roll.
Well,
everyone should be looking at real estate as the number one asset class. I would say right now, as we're recording this, you have to be aware of interest rates, but people shouldn't be overly cautious of them. 6-7% interest rates are standard nationally. And so, I myself am buying more assets to keep in my portfolio than I ever have. And what I would say is to find markets that are better for good active income, like wholesaling and flipping, and then also good markets to add to your portfolio. If you can do that, then no matter what's going on with the economy, no matter what the interest rates are, you're going to be able to succeed as a real estate investor. Everyone needs to be dynamic. Many listeners of my podcast tend to be transactional. They tend to be wholesaling and fix and flipping, and that's fine. But as I've been able to build up 15 years of experience, I realized you need both. You need the active income and you need the passive income. And so what I try to impress upon people and teach people is how to build up the active through wholesaling and fix and flipping, but be able to do that so you can go acquire more rental properties so you can build your wealth. So someday, ideally, you can go retire on that boat. And I would tell anyone listening to this episode right now, anyone can do this in any city, in any state. COVID created an opportunity for us to be able to do this nationally. You don't have to be doing this in your own backyard. Pick the area, follow the money, go where the big boys are going. I'm looking to buy all through Florida, all through North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas. These are great states to be buying in. Follow the money, and that's where I'd be going.
follow the money.
That's it.
Little Jerry Maguire, show me the money. I mean,
Follow the money.
we're old enough for that, right?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
I said that on a call recently. A lot of my salespeople, like Sam, who
Yeah.
are like in their early 20s, and I was like, show me the money. They're like, oh,
What?
okay, what? Anyway, but I'm dating myself. So we're in Austin, Texas. If you're watching on the YouTube, oh my gosh, if you're watching the web show or whatever you want to call it on the YouTube, then you see the nice state capitol behind us. But we're here for the Boardroom Mastermind.
Yep.
You are number 3 in a 8-week series of boardroom guests. I've been lucky. I got lucky. I got all you guys. You're one of the facilitators at the boardroom.
Yeah.
You're one of the billionaire boardroom members. You're one of Kent's better friends.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be week number 3. Why don't we start there? Guy like you, 2,300 assets, 15 years. Why are you here?
Yeah. So I live by one rule. This rule is important. It's the same reason why we became friends fast. Not just because we both like tequila, but because we realize every dollar we've ever made is connected to a person before. And the more I can focus on building a friendship with Tim and his friendships of the other people that I don't even know yet, and that expanding network continues to help me build my business. And I just like you, I love real estate so much. I told my wife the other day, I'm not retiring. Like, I may change the form of which I work, but I love real estate so much. It's never going to be gone. Like, I'm going to continue to acquire assets literally until I'm gone, just because it's fun.
So it took you a couple minutes to mention your wife.
Yeah.
Who I think the first time I really got to know you was at the Scale and Escape in 2022. and you're like, I have a hot wife. Like you were just declaring it to the world like multiple times, and I was like, all right, well, congrats.
Yeah.
I think we all think that, but
That's it.
let's talk about it. Family. Obviously, you have a hot wife, some kids, and
got a little 2.5-year-old little baby angel right here. She's already smarter than dad, which is impressive. Maybe it's not bad. And this show will be coming out and it will be announced, but we are expecting our second. Yeah,
congrats.
Very excited about that.
Yeah.
And so we don't know.
there.
Yeah,
Trust me. No,
you're not wrong. When you're outnumbered, I've seen plenty of friends go like, oh my God, 2 was fine. 3 is where we got crushed. So,
well, by the time this comes out, Herleen was the week before, and he's like, I've got 5 kids, and I couldn't wait to have the 5th. And I'm over here like, yeah, congrats, man. Like,
more respect, brother.
Yeah,
respect.
So, where do you live?
I live in Miami. Spent the better part of my entire 15-year career in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona. Incredible market for real estate investing, but quite frankly, just has priced itself out of being a reasonable market, meaning I like both exit strategies. I like to flip something and I like to keep it. And so when a 1,500 square foot home now is $650,000 that used to be $250, makes it hard to rent that same property. And so it's just it's a market that I will always love. I think it's a better flip market right now than it is a rental market. So right now I'm doing everything nationally. Live in Miami. I've not done one deal in Miami specifically. Plenty in Jacksonville, Orlando, and other markets. But Miami's itself tricky enough.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you were, we'll say, younger in the business, it was all, you lived in Phoenix and you operated in Phoenix.
Yep.
Right. Now you live in Miami and you don't operate in Miami.
Yeah.
How did you make that bridge?
So kind of mentioning earlier, COVID gave me the opportunity to realize I don't physically have to be there. Like I realized me showing up to the house didn't actually make me more money or allow me to do more deals. I can actually just run the same process and system. So before COVID, we were already to a place where I really wasn't looking at many of the properties we were buying. So now I just said, okay, I'm going to take the same system and I'm going to replicate it in other markets. Started slow, right? But then it's a replicatable process with contractors and money. It becomes a spreadsheet problem, right? You and I talk about this all the time. Like you just math it out, right? You try to eliminate as much risk as you can. You try to be pretty good on if I'm going to keep it, where my refi numbers are. And at that point, it's just a process that you can repeat because of the people. And I think that's a big thing is the people. I think a lot of people try to systemize or over-engineer processes. I am the opposite side. I'm a ready, fire, aim guy, like right. Process, like go. But I think if you over-engineer a process or a system, it actually removes your ability to be flexible and, being able to adapt to different things. And what we can both agree on, it's ever-changing. Things are changing all the time. I remember when hedge funds didn't exist in our space of single-family real estate, right? I was buying from the auction. I was crushing it. They come in, they're paying 110 cents on the dollar. And I'm like, well, where's the little guy go? Like, what do we get? So we just keep the process going, but it's also the people. Like, we're adding the right people to move that needle so we don't drop the balls.
Now, you said process, and you said people, but then the name of your company is The Science.
So, see the irony.
So, well, it's not irony. Like, is the science that you focus on, is it an engineering science? Is it a human psychology science? Like, where did that come from?
So if I'm being honest, it came from 2 things. Cute name, catchy.
It is cute.
Secondly, there is some level of mathematical equation there that is pretty replicatable, right? If you just follow the mathematical equation, which we would maybe consider science, but there is still a lot of art to this, right? And even in the form of like, if I'm going to keep it as a portfolio, I always do with the BRRRR method. I buy it or rehab it, rent it, refinance, right? But even then, depending upon the asset and where it's located will change even the materials we would use, right? And the colors and are we going to go tile versus wood versus carpet? It's not always just the same because I'm doing it nationally, right? If you're in one market like Phoenix, it's tile every time, and makes it a lot easier in that sense. So I just think there's a lot of science in terms of the numbers, but art in terms of acquisition and exit.
So you are an active investor.
Mm-hmm.
You wholesale and buy and hold and still flip some.
Yeah.
And you also do some coaching or community building, correct?
Yeah.
Would you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my podcast, The Science Flipping, gave me a platform that people started asking about, hey, will you, coach me or, and they wanted free advice, of course. And so eventually I said, hey, I'm happy to be a consultant, which built into an actual coaching platform because I'm a believer of it's not quite as cool to reach the top of the mountain or the mountaintop alone.
Right.
It's way better when we're all together, right? So if I can empower and instruct and coach thousands of people to help raise them up and we all get there together, it's way cooler. But what I really believe in is my model, and obviously I'm running it, but you want to be doing all this stuff. Even when I called you the other day about a contractor and you're still in the transactional game, but you're also in the lending game and you're like, you want to do it all. You want to be what I call a dynamic investor. You don't want to be a one-trick pony. So most newbies get into the space of wholesaling, if there's newbies out there, and I understand the appeal, right? No money, no credit, no risk.
Right.
I get that. I love it. I actually still wholesale 5 to 15 properties every single month across the nation, right? So I love wholesaling. Fix and flipping is a love-hate relationship, right? We just flipped one in Oklahoma City. Didn't even get it on the market. Classic story. Realtor putting up a sign. Someone drives by. Hey, is this going to go to sale? Full price cash offer, 10-day close, waive all inspection period. Like, yeah, awesome. There's my love. There $1 million flip went wrong, $250,000 lost, the hate, right? That is the story. And so I have lost plenty of money in this game in 15 years. I am not perfect. I don't shit gold. And anyone listening to this should realize, you, me, we've been in the game long enough that it's not always puppy dogs and rainbows, right? And so, but to kind of go back to the point, everyone should be transactional to some extent, even if it's to make an extra $100,000 a year. If you want to have a W-2 and you want to make an extra $100,000, go flip 2 properties or 3, right? You don't need to build this big business, right? I have students that do this part-time, making hundreds of thousands of dollars without building a big business around it. They're just increasing their income so they can buy more rentals, which is what I teach is create the income so you can go build the wealth.
Well, in all reality, the person that has a day job and is kind of doing this on the side, oftentimes has more retained income at the end of the year than the person doing it full time.
Yeah.
I meet a lot of people that do this full time they're a bad month away from bankruptcy.
Well, they make it and then spend it, right? They get excited because they see the reality. They see the $50,000 come in. They're like, oh man, let's double down on marketing. So now they're, instead of $5,000 in marketing, now they're $20,000 in marketing because they think, but then they don't think about the speed of money, right? They still got to buy another one. They still got to go through the rehab. And so all of a sudden their $50,000 just whittling away. And if they don't make another pop on this flip, right? So there's a lot to that. This is a little bit of where the science comes in. There's a real science to the business. You can't just get over eager. You need to know the math. You need to know your KPIs. You need to know how many leads are going to come in versus what you're converting. Are you wholesaling it? Are you flipping it? If you're going to keep it, are you making sure your numbers are accurate so you can refi almost all your money out as best you can? So, listen, I love the part-timers because I have a little bit more cautiousness.
Right.
The older I get, the more I play in a cautious realm. As a youngster, I was running and gunning. It served me really well, but obviously, I did a development play where I lost 7 figures. I did a multi-million-dollar flip. I lost $250,000. I mean, I have those losses, those scars. But everyone should be in the game of real estate. That is the one thing I know.
So 2 weeks ago when Kent was here, he talked about that first failure and then didn't learn my lesson the next one. And then that's just the personality, frankly, of a lot of those guys. It's kind of like, oh, that's not going to happen to me again. And then it does.
Yeah.
I should listen to myself. Yeah. It's very much to do as I say, not as I do.
For sure.
Exercise. So we're going to take a quick break, come back, and I want to talk about something you mentioned about interest rates. So stick around. We'll be right back. Here at RCN Capital, we understand that everyone's financial needs are different. Whether you're pursuing long-term or short-term ventures, our wide range of loan programs will help reach your financial goals with ease and flexibility. We have loan programs for fix and flips, long-term rentals, new construction, and multifamily properties. And don't forget to ask about our Platinum program for experienced investors. To learn more about our loan programs or apply, click the link in our bio or email info@rcncapital.com. Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm still here with Justin Colby. Justin, in your bottom line up front, You said 6%, 7% doesn't really matter. Just find one that works.
Yeah.
And it's funny, both Kent and Greg, the first two part of this boardroom series, mentioned that. If a house cash flows today at a 7% interest rate, it's a one-way bet. I mean, it
only gets better.
You'll probably do better if rates go back down, or if they don't, rents go up, you got a fixed rate. Is that your philosophy?
Yeah. So yesterday we went and we looked at a property, and there was a loan that was offered to us at 1-to-1, right? But their interest rate was low, so we didn't love it. It was like a 7% 1-to-1. I'm sorry, not interest rate, but the percentage of refi, right? So they were able to get to 70% cash out refi on this loan. They can get to 1 to 1.2 if we are able to actually show.
Stop. You're talking about debt service coverage ratio?
That's right.
All right. So you explain that just in case there's someone out there. You'll be amazed how many people I still meet. They're like, DSC, what? Huh?
Yeah.
You want to talk about the DSCR?
So I'm going to simplify the DSCR for you and for me.
Please.
You are the expert in this, and I keep it bubble math.
Good.
Debt servicing. What is your ultimate debt? How can you cover it, right? That's the equation I basically say. How much income's coming in to cover your debt? So if it's 1-to-1, you're not going to get the best loan in the world because they're not as secure with how much money's coming in on that asset.
Cash flowing.
That's right. And so we just got one yesterday where a DSCR loan basically came in 1-to-1. They're not impressed with the asset because it's basically breaking even, right? The income is servicing the debt and there's nothing else. That's why I'm keeping it simple. Is like, that's the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
And so what they wanted to see is like an extra $100 to $200. Now these are low price point assets, right? So we're just talking about $180,000 home renting for about $2,100 a month. So after you wash all that out, there's $150 a month there. They didn't love it. They'll lend on it, but they're not going to be aggressive, right? Where they're not going to lend 75 or 80% loan to value. Well, that would have left too much money in the deal.
Right.
So we had to figure out exactly what we wanted to do with this asset and what would help us. Meaning we haven't even done the full remodel yet. We were just given this quote. So we said, okay, well, do we tailor down the remodel? Do we find a way to increase the rents, right? So we just start to play around with the numbers, back kind of the art of the science, still numbers, but now we're playing with the numbers. Yeah. And so my opinion is if you can withstand a 7% interest, to your point, it's a one-way street. Like, I don't care. Because at some point, a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, I have more equity because I'm paying down the loan. Interest rates at some point will go down a little bit. I don't know. You're really the expert. 3% was nonsense. I think it just created a culture of nonsense.
Right.
I've done this 15 years. I've never seen 3%. Have I seen people get 4%? Sure. But, so like I have a 4% loan on my own personal home. Like, there is a little reality in that, but really between 4 and 5 is probably where I think just like the world as a whole forever will be as a good interest rate, more. So I'm like, dude, if we're getting 7.5% interest rates and they're lending 75% loan to value, I'm buying it all day.
Right.
Because although I'm not getting rich today, that's not my intention. This is where the wholesaling and flipping comes in. The flip I just talked about, we're going to net $50,000 net in our pocket. So if I buy 5 homes and I have to leave $10,000 on each of those because the loan to value ratio is off, well, I just made all $50,000 back on a flip. Right. So now I'm like, great. I'm just getting all these rentals with none of my own money stuck in the deal. So there's the whole, like, be dynamic, do both. Don't just be a one-trick pony, because otherwise I am leaving just the $10,000 on 5 of these rentals, right?
Yeah.
And so don't overthink it. I just think this is the long game. I think everyone in this real estate space, listen, us marketers, including myself, we want to show the best of the best, the highlight reel of what people can do in the space, right? We want to show the students who are making a lot of money, the students who are doing this part-time, making $250,000. We want to show that because it is possible. But the reality is everyone should be in this for the long haul. Even if someone sitting out there has very little to no interest in real estate, you should buy 1 rental a year for 20 years. In the end of that 20 years, you're going to have multiple, I'd say probably 5 of those are going to be paid in full if you don't refi out or do anything like that. You have very low loans on another 5. The other 10, you have 50, 60% loans. You're cash flowing, you're retired, you don't need much more. and you have just assets that over the next 20 years are going to appreciate. Everyone should be in the game of real estate.
Just imagine me, you know, I say it all the time, if I had just kept one more house per year, just one more, like,
Yeah.
And that's, I think the audience needs to hear, you're saying keep one. If you're already keeping one, I say keep two.
That's
right?
it.
If you're already keeping three, keep four, right? Like, I mean, because that incremental increase, it's just amazing what time does to a real estate portfolio.
Well, and I would even make so over time, I've gotten to this point. I really only wanted appreciating markets, right? Markets that I can see appreciation. Like the whole state of Cleveland, essentially, is not that market.
You know, it's
I'm sorry, Ohio. I'm thinking of Cleveland because I'm selling a deal there. So Ohio is like not that market. Yeah.
This
state of Cleveland. Listen, it's early, bro. But it cash flows so great. So I'm starting to turn this page of, yes, would I maybe want to be in a Dallas, a Jacksonville, a Charlotte, where I can see the appreciation, Atlanta, where I know that over time it's just going to continue appreciating. But could I take a Cleveland property and say, dude, I get a 2%, ratio on that and just say, let me balance my books. I may not see $1 of appreciation in 20 years because that's the market. But, Jacksonville is making me $200 a month on a door. The equivalent in Cleveland might be making me $800 a month.
So I just to pay the house off for you in half the time.
So it's more of I'm starting to get to the point where I don't have to have it in just those appreciating markets. Because to your point, if you just buy one or two more, just time is going to appreciate, not in the state of Ohio or Cleveland, whatever we want to talk about. But it is a good practice that I'm really trying to enforce on our team to say, hey, let's not just shun the Ohios of the world or what's another market, like Memphis, right? Like, Kent has done a great job with his family and what they've built there, but it's not an appreciating market.
They used to say that about Dallas.
Yeah, well, Dallas is massive now. I mean,
several times you said we, and then you just mentioned, you said my team. Let's take the marketing and education side out.
Sure.
What does your house buying team look like?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people.
I thought we were doing a Sesame Street exercise.
No, I'm just making sure I'm counting right. So you don't need a...
Nationally?
Yeah.
Are they are they in Miami with you?
No.
Are they all in different places?
It's virtual.
All right, tell me about this.
So I've run the operation in-house in Phoenix, 20 people in the office, hot and heavy, sales floor, the whole thing. It's fun, it's exciting, it's neat. The reality, again, I go back to this COVID scenario, it gave me the opportunity that you didn't really have that option, truthfully. And so we had to pivot and maneuver, and I just realized, there's so much operational cost that goes into running an actual office that's unnecessary. And as long as you have the right people, you can create the same culture, you can have the same vibes. The only thing is you don't have cocktail hour. Well, you kind of can. You jump on Zoom on a Thursday night at 4 p.m., say, guys, great week so far. Let's have a cocktail hour. You can create all the same thing.
Right.
Now, in my heart of hearts, do I believe there's something that's almost intangible when you're with people and bro hugging and celebrating it? Totally.
Yeah.
I believe in that. But if I don't have to take on the operational lift of developing that and living where I really want to live, listen, we're all in real estate kind of for this point of I want to create my life the way I want it. As Kent says, live your life by design, live where I want to live, do what I want to do. Well, if I want that, then I do have to make certain sacrifices. And that might be having an office where I have the team, the culture, and the morale and the whole thing. But you can get very close to the same feeling with really good people who know how to just hold themselves accountable. Team meetings every single day, sometimes two. You can have the cocktail hours. You can create that, right? And so just my real estate team is 6 people. We could be more, but already we're just we're running and gunning. I don't want to... I've done the, bigger, better thing. For all those listening, the youngsters out there, bigger's not always better, I promise. I know Texans don't love hearing that. It's just not.
Well, we don't have a problem. It's always bigger.
It's always bigger. So anyways, that's where I'm at. I mean, I want to get, personally, I think a 6-man team could probably get me to buy somewhere between 50 to 100 million assets a year. Right. And then if we liquidate some of those because we decide to flip them or whatever, that's fine. But if we're running at that clip, I'll get there, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the margins in this business are very deceiving, and the more overhead and op costs you have, it just. I know a lot of people that are racking up millions a month in gross revenue that are bleeding.
100%.
I mean, and one thing you talked about, we did. So we have people on 4 continents at RCN, 300 employees, and a lot of virtuals. And I mean, I didn't even know until the other day we have 2 people in Turkey. Like, I didn't know. It was on a presentation slide. But for the company meeting in January, for anyone that wasn't in the office, no, it was the anniversary celebration. It was the 13-year anniversary celebration. If you weren't in the office, we sent you a Grubhub coupon, for $15 or something.
Sure.
So it was like you were talking about the cocktail hour.
Yeah.
You can still do a company luncheon.
Yeah.
And you can still buy their lunch.
Yeah.
Without going into Uber Eats and ordering 75 different addresses, right?
That's right.
So, and I'm sure some people were like, oh man, I'll just eat a salad today and save that for later. But it didn't matter. We were still inviting them to eat lunch with us.
That's right.
And celebrate the company.
The culture.
Right. So what does, so you 6 people on the house buying side. What's you said about 100 million, 50 to 100 million in assets a year.
That's what I want to be at.
Is that
6 people?
How many transactions is that?
2 a week, depending. Now, it's a little tough to be exact here, and only reason is as I'm sure, 2 a week, give or take.
So about 100 a year ish.
Yeah.
That 100 a year.
Now I'm wholesaling. Just as a side note, I'll wholesale 5 or 10 that I'm not really including in the flipping and the holding side, right?
Does the same team manage that?
Yep.
So talk about that team. Is that 6 people? Is it virtual assistants? Is it acquisition folks, disposition folks?
We would consider 2 of our girls, the dispo side only. They're in Mexico. They'd be technically virtual assistants, but my whole team's virtual, so it's very hard. The only reason why people would consider them virtual is because they're out of country.
Call them remote.
But they're U.S. educated, actually, got college degrees, right? But because they couldn't actually live here full time, they ended up going back to Mexico. So I almost look at them like normal, right? I save a couple bucks, I guess, versus U.S. wages, but I would say, I can run a wholesale-only business. I could run a 20 a month pretty easily with 6 people. You wouldn't even need 6. You could probably do it with 4.
And the nice thing is you can use that cash to flow the business and pay the salaries and the overhead and the ops. That way you don't have to dip into the piggy bank, which is the retirement assets. It's the risk, right?
That's it. So we know, I built a model for the assets that we're keeping that we're not paying ourselves anything for the time being. When the number is big enough and you're just like, well, okay, this is getting a little obscene, right? Yeah. But as we're building, I want that money to stay in there because I actually want to be self-sufficient to some extent, right? Now, I don't mind raising money and having partners like you to be able to do deals with, right? But ultimately, at some point, I want to be able to say, hey, we need, $1 million for this whatever thing. Great. We'll just self-finance it, right? That's where I want to be able to do. And so until we can get to that point where I feel really good about that, because I don't mind bringing in partners, frankly. I don't mind raising money and having partners. I have no problem with that at all. I'm not greedy with that part because I know if Tim's willing to be a partner of mine coming with capital, Tim and I can go buy more assets together than we can individually, right? And so that's that.
How important are relationships? So Greg was the guest last week. I know you 2 have done some deals together.
Yeah.
How important have relationships been to your success?
They're everything. Quite frankly, everything. The older I get and the more I realize I just hired an A++ player that I had no idea was in my circle. And he's like, dude, I've been following you for years. I've known about you. I'm so-and-so's best friend, you and him, this, that, and the other. And if it wasn't for that network, him and I probably never meet and or whatever. And this guy is like A++, like the guy you want, right? Now, I also say that I have, because of my relationship with Kent, is just an example since he was on your show. I couldn't tell you the dollar amount, but because my relationship with him and introductory we've made a lot of money and impact together just in what him and I have done, right? And so It is everything. I've had the luxury of elevating my network, and this is not, I'm trying to say this as humbly as I can, but some of the people may not even like, the Grant Cardones and Bradleys of the world, but I've been able to get into their space. I've been able to sit on their podcast at their office. I've been able to go to lunch with them. One of the things Brad Lee and I were just recently talking about is he told me, he's like, every dollar you've made, Justin, is directly connected to a person before the check, if you really go back and look at it. And I just was like, damn, it's a great way of saying that. Because I've always, when I was brought into real estate in 2005, my first mentor in the space basically said every meeting is important, even if it doesn't put a check in your pocket. That was his version of saying it, is be attentive in the meeting, have the meeting, do the coffee meetings, because even though it doesn't relate to an immediate deal, if you nurture that relationship over time, it can. And Brad said it in his way, and I'm just like, oh, he's so right. He is so right.
It's funny you mentioned Brad. So we met at an event in January and kind of connected. And then one day on Instagram, I saw him talking about his real coaching or whatever.
Sure.
And I just joined. It's like $300 a month.
Yeah.
And he does this weekly Zoom call.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like that guy. I like his content. I like to hear what he has to say and the way he thinks about things. And so they got a Discord thing where people are really active. That's not my jam.
Sure.
But if I got nothing to do on that Wednesday afternoon, I just dial in. I'll listen up. There's always, there's one little nugget.
Totally.
From listening to it, he had the fitness guy, Andy.
Wes?
No. Anyway. Not Andy Frizzell, Andy something.
So I would even say this to you. Play out 1 week or 1 month, or how often these calls? Once a week?
They're weekly, yeah.
Go find a person, you know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of, you and I are a part of the boardroom, right? Like, that room alone has led to how much money for me or you? Like, probably plenty. I've never really added it up. But even you being a part of something like that virtually, I bet you could go generate a network or like some relationships out of that. I just think people undervalue the actual person component nowadays. Everything's so transactional. Everything is so, I don't know, the kiddos is that, like, I'm really making myself sound old, because it's like, man, I'm still the get person to person. Like, the fact that we're doing this live versus over Zoom is everything to me, right? Like, I like that. And I think there's a disconnect these days, but if people realize the people they meet are going to make them their money, even as simple as a W-2 employee. How did you start working with RCN? I'm guessing you built a relationship prior to REN that somehow opened the door for you to get into REN.
Oh, yeah. I've known Jeff for 10 years. CEO, founder.
Technically.
We were competitors. I ran the Blackstone company, B2R, and he'd be 2 booths down, and we were competitors. But we became friends, and we started eating barbecue together. And his son goes to TCU, so he would come to Fort Worth, and Jeff would call, like, hey, you want to go to the game?
Yeah.
Let's go play golf.
It's everything.
Yeah.
But also the thing is, you didn't look at him as an opportunity. You just were you, and he was him, and it happens organically. Sometimes if you're not good at this, or I don't mean you played the game, but like, you have to understand it also should be organic. I shouldn't be looking at Tim as, what's Tim going to do for me? That's bullshit, right? Because I get looked at that. Like, what's Justin going to do for me? And I hate that. It's like, I'm happy to give my blood, sweat, and tears and soul to anyone.
Sweat right now because,
quite literally.
No air conditioning.
But like, nurture the relationship. Give value. You were a cool dude. You guys started grilling out together, eating some grill. You go to games. And that naturally creates this opportunity for you and RCN. Everyone should be looking at every opportunity in the same way.
In the boardroom, you're one of the facilitators. You run, which if you're out there, that means he runs the room and kind of makes people shut up when we need to shut up, or then like encourages people to share when they're not sharing. And you do a good job at that.
Thank you.
Is that part of you the reason you do the coaching as well, or is the coaching just like for deal flow? Talk about kind of why you.
So I thought I was going to be a teacher growing up. So my grandmother was a teacher, then principal, and then she went into the board or what, you know what I mean, where you're running counties of school districts. So Fast forward, rough childhood, alcoholic parents, blah. Grandmother's the mother figure for me, right? So I was like, oh, I'm going to take after my grandma, right? You just don't know any better. So I'm like, Grandma, I'm going to be a teacher. She's like, great, honey. Well, you get a little older and you realize how much teachers really make financially. And you go,
well, and how undervalued they are.
well, yeah, but I've always had this. So the background of me, dude, I was the kid that would literally drive on Wednesday mornings. I would take my bicycle, get 2 huge trash bags, go take everyone's recycling, put it in my trash bag, take it to the recycling place so I can get paid instead of the, you know what I mean? I would go to the baseball card shops. I would open a box. I would beg my mom for $20, buy the thing of baseball cards, open it in front of this card owner, sell them the best ones back. I would walk out of there with $40, give 20 back to my mom, and now I'd have 20 now.
Yeah.
So I've had this thing
in case you're listening, baseball cards are these little things made out of cardboard.
Exactly.
Before we had NFT baseball cards.
That's right. That's right.
I love that story. My brothers and I, man, we ran the card shops in Mesquite, Texas.
Dude.
Oh, man, it was...
I got re-addicted recently. Last couple of years, I'm kind of back in this game. I love the whole thing. So anyways, I digress. So I thought I was going to be a teacher, realized entrepreneur. The reason why I even tell that story, I've been driven by business, money, that kind of since a kid.
Yeah.
Right. And call me money. I don't care what people want to like. I don't care because I also serve others. Right.
Money.
And so, yeah. Like I just posted something that got probably the most comments I've seen is, why aren't more people obsessed about making more money? Making more money. Like people should be absolutely obsessed, and you get all these haters. Money's not everything, and you just go, well, baller, I've been broke and I've had money, and life is hard either way.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, just have money if life.
Well, you and I were talking about this Friday. You're coming back to Dallas. You're doing a little meetup, little pop up, and I was like, dude, fly JSX. And you're like, oh, I didn't even know they flew there. And before you know it, you used money to buy back an hour and a half at least worth of time on Friday night with our friends at the boardroom.
At least.
Right? You and I now get to finish up Friday. We're not going to it'll take us 30 minutes to get over there, and we'll be on the plane in 10 minutes.
That's it.
And so we bought an hour and a half back of time, and that's time that we get to go spend with our friends, which who knows what that leads to. So I don't know. To me, what I'm teaching my children is, you and I were taught that money is a reward, right, for effort or time. And I'm just teaching my kids money is a tool.
That's it.
It's a tool to make more money. It's a tool to live a better life. It's a tool to do good for people.
Condensed time. I mean, I really believe this, right? So let's just use the example of like this is a perfect one. I'm saying it's a 2-hour swing between getting to the airport, right, on Friday night, Austin Airport on Friday night, taking the airport from DFW back to the hotel, plus everything else. I think it's a full-blown 2-hour swing that I just got my time back for an extra $300.
Right.
Really, I just was saying, dude, it's a 25-minute flight. I just spent $300 on it. But if you really look at that, if you break down the economics, and I'll get back to the coaching and why I do it. If you break down the economics, if you want to make $500,000 a year, divide it by 2,000. It'll come up to $250 an hour.
Okay.
So if you believe you are worth $500,000 a year, then you better be charging your time $250 an hour. If you're doing shit that is valued less than $250 an hour, such as sitting in traffic, going through big airports, rather than going through private airports, and torching a 2-hour sum of time,
that's $500.
I only spent $3.
Right. You profit.
I win.
You actually got an ROI on the extra spend.
Right.
That's a perfect time to take a break.
All right.
All right. Stick around. We'll be right back.
REI Inc. is a monthly business publication for real estate investors, covering all types of real estate investments and strategies. It is the most comprehensive real estate investment publication on the market. All of the articles are written by the top leaders in the industry, so investors are assured of always getting the best information possible. Each month, REI Inc. also profiles the top companies in the industry and provides insights and data into key regional markets. Along with their sister platforms, the REI Referral Network and Highest Invest, real estate investors have exclusive access to off-market investment opportunities and national acquisition and disposition initiatives. To learn more, visit www.rei-inc.com, where you can also access the REI Referral Network. Also, be sure and visit www.highest-and-vest.com to view the latest exclusive off-market assets with near immediate acceptance decisions and closing strategies. You can also email marketing@rei-referralnetwork.com to request more information.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harridge. I'm still here with Justin Colby, the science of flipping. Justin, the next segment is the Money Minute.
Yeah.
60 seconds. I want you to imagine there's an entrepreneur or an investor out there that will only get 60 seconds of advice for the next 30 days.
Got it.
This is it.
Yeah.
They're going to hear what you say, and then they've got to run their business in their life. No other advice. Okay, so it's got to be the go juice. You good to go?
Let's go.
Go.
The only thing that matters in real estate is the deal. Don't worry about trying to find money and you don't have money to do this deal or anything like that. The only thing that matters is the deal. Find the opportunity and then maximize the opportunity. Some of them will be better flips. Some of them will be better buy and holds. Some of them will just simply, you can wholesale out to another buyer because you don't want to do anything of risk with financially. But ultimately, real estate's number one priority, the only thing you should be focused on for the next 60 days of your life is finding the deal, find the opportunity. At that point, it opens up your opportunity to maximize it and then make all the money.
So I always say a good deal will find the money.
Yeah.
And I love how you said, like, don't even bother about the money. Like, a good deal will find money.
That's right.
If I go find a good deal out here in Austin, I can find the money. And one of the things you said at the Scottsdale boardroom on day one,
Okay.
you were moderating the room that I was in. It was after I'd presented. I was still listening because I'm not one of those that
I like
goes and tries to pull all the information I can and then goes and gets on the phone. You said, I promise you this will work. Get on Facebook right now. And you said something like, I'm looking for a couple of capital partners for a deal I'm working on or something like that. Yeah. And you said you'll be amazed at the people that reach out.
Yeah.
And I did it.
Did you?
And it worked. I
I
mean, like,
love it.
people that, one guy that at one time had taken one of my wholesaling courses 15 years ago. It's like, hey, dude, I got 200 grand. Like, let me know what you want to do. Like,
You should hear the stories of my students. My students will be like, and I think I told this story, they're a W-2 employee. They're getting into real estate, and I'll say, post this if you really need money for a deal. And they'll be like, dude, my neighbor in the cubicle next door to me every single freaking day, we make the same amount of money. We do the same amount of work. They just inherited like $250,000 and they were interested in what I had going on. And it's because people just don't ask for what they want. They don't put it out there. They don't talk about it. And listen, the movie or book, The Secret, it really works. And what I mean, I'm not getting woo-woo on you. I'm just saying,
I believe in the law of attraction.
if you don't put it out there, then how is it ever going to get attracted? How are you ever going to bring it into your world, right? And so if you're not talking about it, if you're not doing it, if you're not letting everyone know you're a real estate investor or you're looking for a capital, how's anyone going to bring that up? That is the example of the guy that shares a cubicle literally every single day, 5 days a week, and that one person never would have thought about bringing this up. I mean, it just works.
Yeah, and I think even the words you said, I'm looking for a capital partner. So it was, you got to have money and you're going to be a partner. Like, it wasn't I'm looking for a partner, not I'm looking for an investor. It kind of hit on, I think, two important buttons.
Yeah.
So we're going to run out of time soon. I want to make sure, I respect the heck out of you. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about?
Listen, I have a mission to develop more partners. And what I mean by that is we touched briefly on my coaching. My coaching is there because I want to help make a massive impact on people that want to get into real estate and build a business. But I'm clear on it. I'm clear on why I do that.
Right.
It's because I need to develop business partners for the future. I need to go buy $1 billion worth of real estate. And if I can teach someone and give someone the knowledge, wisdom from experience and get them enough experience, then I feel comfortable bringing them into my world as a partner. So I'm on a mission to create these business partners through my education so that they can get the real education, because there's a lot of coaches out there. I won't speak to any of them. All I can speak to is what I can do and what I can teach these people to do. Right. And so I want to make a massive impact. So if there's anything we haven't talked about, is I would love to be able to educate and help as many people as possible break into the real estate space through wholesaling, flipping, and buying rentals. Mostly transactional first to start the active income, as we talked about, increase your income because then you can buy more rentals. But I'm on a mission with that. And that's between buying the actual assets and helping others do the same. That's it.
So I remember we were at the same conference in January. You were speaking, and in line to get a drink, I said something like, "Man, you've got like what, 50, 60,000 followers on Instagram?" You go, "Oh, like 100,000." You gotta like get it right, Tim.
Yeah.
The Justin Colby.
The Justin Colby.
They can follow you there.
That's right.
YouTube's
YouTube's a great place for people to get used to me, right? So justincolby.tv, it drives you straight to my YouTube. It's an easier link.
Yeah.
justincolby.tv, and then you can just get my energy, understand how I communicate. That kind of stuff is a great resource. I do tons and tons of videos for free there, and then get in contact. Send me a direct message on Instagram, the Justin Colby. I run my own Instagram. I don't have some bot running.
There's an AI behind it.
There's no AI.
There's not
It is your
AI bot.
That's it.
Well, man, I appreciate you being here.
Brother, I appreciate you having
It
me.
means the world to me. And thank you for the compliment about doing it in person. It's been important to me for the last year, and it gets hard, right?
Totally.
Because you're trying to make sure that you have a good guest, but like you don't want to get too far behind. And so I jumped on this opportunity to do this
As you should.
down here with all you guys coming in.
I think every quarter you should be doing this.
I do too.
Yeah.
Then I can do 2 months worth of work in one day.
That's it.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it,
it.
bro.
That's it for this week. Remember, your network is your net worth, and today you've been growing both. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Uncontested Investing Show. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time. The preceding program is furnished by RCN Capital LLC. The information provided is for general education purposes only and does not constitute any legal, financial, investment, or other professional advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by any speaker are the speaker's own opinion and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of RCN Capital LLC. No information contained in this episode should be construed as financial, investment, or legal advice from RCN or any individual, author, host, or guest. You should always consult a financial advisor before investing.